Good morning, neighbors. Are home because of the severe weather today. Mr. Norseman's known for being a little silly at times. There's something magical about being silly with friends and family, isn't there? Normally, this time of day, I'm getting ready for work and the kids are already at school. The house is quiet, and most of the time, I love that. What parent doesn't? But there's other times when the kids go to their moms that I kind of feel a little lonely. And that reminded me of a stanza from the Havamal. Since I have so much time with the kids doing their e-learning, I thought I would cover hospitality, community, and loneliness and how that all ties together. So let's begin with Havamal stanza 50. The pine tree wastes which is up on the hill, nor bark nor needles shelter it. Such is the man whom none doth love. For what should he longer live? This is a great big metaphor. The tree is up on that hill, sitting there alone with no friends, family, or community to shelter it, to nurture it and help it grow, wasting away. Mr. Norseman was like this when he first got out of the army. Integrating back into civilian life was tricky. Nobody understood what I went through, and I was keeping everyone at a distance. Do you know solitude and loneliness are actually bad for your health? Luckily, I sought treatment and I made some friends. Mr. Norseman realizes not everybody has close or immediate family, but I was very lucky that mine didn't give up on me. Helping each other grow. A grove works as a team, providing shelter for one another. Reminded of this as this bad weather starts coming in. Think of it all like a grove of trees providing shelter for when a tree is sick and losing its needles and bark. And it's because of this teamwork that other things still can flourish there. Birds, squirrels, foxes, all kinds of aminals. All because that family grove is flourishing. The community thrives. The Havamal is full of wisdom on how to be a good host and how to be a good and bad guest as well. You know, a lot of people think the Norse were a bunch of big bad bearded Vikings going around looting and pillaging all the time. But they actually had a fascinating social structure, and it was very rigid. The problem is not a lot of people take the time to reflect on what's said. It's in old speak. You know, they didn't write a lot of things down back then. Due to the word Viking being romanticized so much and used in Hollywood, many seem to think that every single citizen was this big bearded Viking warrior person. Think of it like this. In the United States, not many go off to serve in the military. Many of us have family and jobs and live our lives. Think of it like that with way more farmers. Like the states within the United States, they had many kingdoms that would become eventually nations. All different, some even having different things written down in their sagas and texts. We've just condensed them all into one for us all to use. And while mental health and specifically loneliness aren't really talked about beyond this and a few other things in the sagas, well, I think when their soldiers returned from gathering resources much like U.S. soldiers, well, that they dealt with the same things Mr. Norseman did when he came back. The difference being they had a slight edge over the modern day because of this wise text. It was ingrained in their culture and communities. Just like U.S. soldiers, I would imagine the Vikings came back a barren pine tree. And we don't have this today. We don't. We like to think we do. But in the U.S., we're not really good at being good hosts or good guests. We don't really listen. And I think that's why we need to build communities. And not just for soldiers. Partially, that's why Mr. Norseman wanted to make this show. It's also why he does the charity work that he does. Further still, there is the tiny home community of Change Unchained. Women coming out of slavery and exploitation. A safe place where they can go to heal, to learn skills to put pine needles and bark back on their persons, to reintegrate into community. Links in my bio. But as you go into your life and perhaps you feel lonely, like a pine tree, maybe you just need to put down roots in a grove. Or you're just around bad guests and hosts. Very rare that a pine tree starts out on its own after all. The remnants of those toxic trees at the base of your tree preventing your growth. Still poisoning you until your bark and your needles fall off from loneliness and isolation. If you need help, reach out to a mental health professional. Even a healthy tree can draw a bird nest. Over time, the landscape will change. The wind will bring one of those helicopter thingies, and soon you'll have another tree nearby. And then another. Soon there'll be a grove and even a forest. As humans, we often don't realize how patient nature is, and how not patient we are. But if you'll excuse me, I gotta go help my grove with their e-learning. And then I gotta get back to my fitness because I'm in training for a 1-mile truck push. Because if we meet the fundraising goal to help Change Unchained, that's gonna happen. And this tree's still got some growing to do if he's gonna do that. But from my grove to yours, I hope you all have a great day. Ah-cha-cha-cha-cha.